Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County's December the 7th board meeting. I'd like to first start by introducing myself. I'm Roy Priest, the chair, and I'd introduce the fellow commissioners, Van Kelleher, vice chair, Rick Nelson, chair pro tem, Jackie Simon to his right, and Jeffrey Merkowitz to her right. And on my left, Linda Kuhn. We are also joined remotely by Commissioner Pamela Bird. So we have a full commission available for the meeting today. So I want to thank everyone for being present. I want to thank the staff and also thank our executive director and our deputy director for being present for the meeting, and also our general counsel. So thank you all very much, and we'll proceed with the meeting as outlined in our agenda, unless there are some changes to the agenda as presented. Seeing none, the first item is in fact, information exchange. We have been advised that there have been no persons who have requested to speak before us today for the community forum portion of the agenda. So we'll proceed to the report of the executive director, Chelsea Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, commissioners, members of the public, and HOC staff. I'd like to provide an overview of the month of November. Next slide. And provide you with a couple of highlights. During the month of November, HLC continued to engage in our core activities, providing support and enrichment programming to our clients. This month, we mark a couple of highlights for you. One being our re-engagement with the Tobytown community. We will provide legislative updates, highlights from our resident services division, highlights from our housing resource division, information technology division updates, and our real estate development activities. Before we get into all of those updates, however, we will provide you with a very high level year in review. I do want to note that this is, of course, not the end of the year. We're nearing the end of the year, but we are very much in reflective mode as an agency in regards to the accomplishments that we have been successful in pushing forward this year. In February, at our annual board meeting, we will provide a more comprehensive look back. But just to highlight some wonderful accomplishments, we want to share that within this last year, we delivered and reached stabilized occupancy at Residence on the Lane. We significantly advanced construction on both the Laureate and the Leggett with occupancy imminent in early 2023. We received the GFOA awards for excellence in financial reporting and budgeting. We doubled the housing production fund from $50 to $100 million. We made available over $32 million in lendable proceeds for first-time home buyers. We provided over $1.25 million in financial assistance for rental arrearages to HOC customers under the Housing Stabilization Program. Our HOC Academy assisted 18 HOC customers in legalizing their businesses and providing tuition assistance to over 56 HOC customers. We increased and maintained the program utilization rate, which is now at 96%. So this is a preview of a update we will provide later as well. As we all know, we had a wonderful Inspire celebration event where we were successful in raising over $230,000 to support various programs, STEM activities, small business development classes, education for our adults, and so on. And we secured a continuing $998,000 annual grant from USDHHS administration to support our fatherhood initiative in year 3 of the 5-year grant. These are just a few of the highlights that we've accomplished over the last 11 months and really want to applaud our team, our commission, and all of our stakeholders who have supported us along the way. The first highlight, other than our year-end review, is sharing some engagement that we recently had with one of our community properties, Tobytown. As you all know, Tobytown is a historically African-American community that was founded by slaves in 1875. It's remotely located in the western portion of Montgomery County, just off of the River Road in the Potomac area. On November 17th, I had an opportunity to do a meet and greet with the families of Tobytown. We've established and created a Tobytown task force. The goal of the task force is to support the families at Tobytown in becoming self-sufficient while preserving the history and the legacy of the community. And we will continue to engage with Tobytown to ensure their complete and full success. Next slide. We also provide you with today an update in regards to legislative matters. There is a pending state bill, MC 1023. It was introduced by Senator Ben Cramer, and it will come before the Maryland General Assembly. This bill is specifically related to the collective bargaining process and recommends that HOC be included in a process that would require and allow the union to invoke arbitration in any dispute outside of contract negotiations. As shared with this commission, it is our position that this particular legislation could cause difficulties with our union. Our ongoing relationship with the union is one in which we are not often in arbitration. And so to invoke these types of parameters would hamper our relationship, but also create situations where we could potentially be an impasse at times where having an opportunity to work and have good faith negotiations would be a better practice. We intend to provide testimony at the upcoming council hearing on December 15th. Next slide. There is also a council bill that was approved on November 29th, 2022. It's Bill 1322, and this is the Comprehensive Building Decarbonization Act. There were several amendments. It's taken some time to get completely through. However, it is the outcome of the bill requires that buildings will need to be fully electric beginning in 2025. As you all know, we are ahead of the curve with the development of our Hillendale property and many other developments that we have forthcoming, where we intend to have be fully electric. But this is something that as we move forward, we will continue to provide updates to the commission on impact, on cost, timing, and how it will impact our path forward. Next slide. Resident services. We continue to work closely with our partners across the board. I'll start with Cider Mill and share that we have had successful partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services. You all have heard on a monthly basis me update you all on the Street Outreach Network. That has been a successful program that allows our youth to have a safe space after school. And it's been so successful that we have expanded the program to Seneca Ridge, and that will begin in January. Our resident services staff always continue to work with our property management office as well to provide support for residents having challenges with rent delinquencies, et cetera. We're also pleased to share that in the month of November and in next month, you will hear an update in regards to the work that we did to support our families having access to broadband resources and computer events that took place over the course of the last few days. Next slide. We also continue to do great work around focusing on our residents' well-being. We highlight all of the events that have taken place in the month of November, which span from providing resources for supplemental and nutritional assistance to hosting holiday events such as the holiday bingo event, et cetera. And some photographs of these events are forthcoming. Next slide. Highlighting, again, many of the activities that took place from our Thanksgiving pie gobble at Waverly, as well as gift card distribution at Spring Garden. We also are ensuring that we provide flu clinics and other resources to our seniors, did so at both Arcola and Waverly. Next slide. These are some photos. We are engaging with our residents at the Fenton Silver Spring location, introducing one of our new resident counselors. So you see Katrina Gomez meeting the community here. Next slide. This is a reflection of an event for our seniors. Again, the Arts for Aging program is a wonderful program that our seniors enjoy. And this is at Arcola. And you see photos from the flu clinic that took place at both Arcola and Waverly House. Next slide. This is reflects photos from our turkey and food distribution that took place at Tanglewood and Manchester Manor, as well as the Thanksgiving pie gobble at Waverly House. Next slide. We continue to provide support to our residents as we're doing renovations across the portfolio. So assistance with relocation, assistance with recertification, as well as ensuring that our residents take advantage of all of the rental assistance that continues to be available throughout the county. Next slide. We also have wonderful partners and want to also ensure that we acknowledge them. Manna Food Center, Emmanuel Brinklow Seventh-day Adventist Church, Montgomery County Senior Nutrition Lunch Program, Capital Area Banks, Senior Brown Bag, and My Groceries to Go programs help support over 375 HOC customers this last month. And we continue to work with our partners every month to provide these resources to our clients. Next slide. Our HOC Youth Academy continues to be a strong program for our youth. We are moving forward with our first generation college bound program that provides resources to our students to help them be prepared for college, as well as STEAM and STEM programming. Next slide. Our adult education and workforce development has resulted in many of our clients having an opportunity to become first-time business owners. And so we highlight in this presentation, as well as in my packet, some of the businesses that have reached milestones, as well as some of our alumni that are doing exceptionally well with the resources we've been able to provide to them. And on the slide, you'll see those highlights reflected. Next slide. We also continue to provide financial literacy to our clients. I want to continue to emphasize that individuals who are on our waiting list can gain access to financial literacy coaching workshops that occur on a monthly basis. Just to reach out to us and you can enroll. Information regarding our programs and also to register for our ongoing newsletter is on our website at www.hocmc.org. And we continue to provide these resources. You'll see here the number of individuals that participated over the course of the last month. Next slide. Supportive housing. We continue to provide case management services to over 230 participants. We also continue to provide support for those seeking housing with the emergency housing voucher, as well as our rent supplement program. We are pleased to report that with our rent supplement program, we are only one person shy of our target, which was 275 individuals. So looking forward to having a successful report out to you in January. Next slide. Our fatherhood initiative that we are all very proud of continues to thrive. We acknowledge this program as being a best practice model. And in the last month, we graduated, on November 4th, we graduated 26 fathers from the October cohort. And so congratulations to those fathers. And thank you, Commissioner Simon, for joining that graduation. And so this program continues to be a wonderful offering for our fathers and is a program that we continue to move forward. Next slide. The Fatherhood Initiative Thanksgiving Day basket distribution was also a huge success. You see photos from our team providing packages to our fathers. It was a drive-through initiative that allowed fathers to obtain baskets in advance of Thanksgiving. Next slide. HCBP program. We currently have 181 families that we've issued vouchers to last month that are searching for units. And many of those families have contracts that are pending execution. We also have a 96% utilization rate. So we continue to inch in the right direction there. And we only had one family request a voucher extension. So we are, yes. So we are providing great support as well as ensuring that and one of the recommendations today, or that has been advanced to the commission, focuses on our fair market rent, which also makes a impact on accessibility to different units across the county. Next slide. Okay, no, we're here. Rent Cafe. We continue to roll out Rent Cafe. We have gotten to the phase where there are some families who've been enrolled who are now doing recertifications. So we're encouraging them to do them through this portal. We're providing them with the support that they need to be successful in doing that. If anyone has challenges, we are providing them with help desk services to get them through the process. And it has been a successful process along the way. Next slide. This provides an overview of the families who have had some challenges completing their recertification. There were 74 families out of our program. However, as you can see, we continue to work with families, reach out to families, contact them, and assist them to avoid any family being removed from our program to the best of our ability. Next slide. The emergency housing voucher program is continuing to be a success. We currently have 86 families who are leased and 17 who are currently searching for homes. We're providing them with support there. We look forward to hopefully in the very near future sharing with you all that we have fully utilized this resource, but wanted to provide you with an update that we are definitely headed in the right direction here. Next slide. Our FSS team resumed recruitment efforts, and we've had multiple information sessions. We're trying to increase this program size from 358 to 441. Again, for those who are watching, who are a part of this program, we're really encouraging you to take advantage of the new resources that are offered in the new parameters of the program. There will be more information coming in the next month, as well as a flyer and information provided to all of our applicants. Next slide. The Yardi Rent Cafe statistics are here to show that we continue to enroll individuals in our Yardi Rent Cafe program. At our last board meeting, a question was asked regarding how much longer will it take for us to get through the entire rollout. We have another 6 months. We're doing some tranches so that if there are questions or issues along the way, we have the bandwidth to provide the support and resources needed. But over the next 6 months, we should make our way through all of our customers in the voucher program. Next slide. We continue to provide, and this is a highlight of the fact that 83% of our registered participants have completed their annual recertification. So again, just demonstrating that this is a program that is beginning to work well for our participants and also have a benefit for us. Next slide. And we also continue to roll out our IT cybersecurity initiative and provide you with more details in my report. But this is an internal initiative to ensure that we're protected from any challenges to our cyber system. Next slide. And then for redevelopment update, wanted to share that our Fenton Silver Spring retail space will soon be open to the public with 2 restaurants, one called the Breakfast Club, the other Black Lion Cafe. Their renovations are nearly complete, and we expect that they will be opening in December 2022. The Fenton Silver Spring property is located in Silver Spring, and it's 124 mixed income, mixed use development. We also have an update related to Stewarttown homes. We have reached substantial completion in those renovations, and we're at a milestone where we believe the community room will be completed in the next 2 weeks. Next slide. And also great news to share, we received $320,000 in state revitalization program funds awarded to us for Hillendale Gateway that will be used for pre-development and site work related activities. And as you all know, Hillendale Gateway is HOC's planned first of its kind 463 unit mixed income, mixed use, passive house, and net zero multifamily community that's located at the site of the former Holly Hall apartments. And it's being developed in partnership with Duffy Companies and PS Ventures. Next slide. I believe this concludes my report and I open for questions.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? Mr. Lukowicz?
Or just a couple of comments, or one comment and I guess and a question. Just very pleased to see the growth in the voucher utilization program. I'm glad we're not resting at just our minimum goal, and we should be striving to use every single voucher we can. Question also, very pleased to hear about all the accomplishments and everything that we're doing for our residents. One question that I have regarding residents is, if the status of our resident advisory committee. And, I know that there was some disruptions due to the pandemic, but I guess I would really encourage you to try to reactivate that. I think the board really benefits when we hear that voice.
Absolutely. We are in the final stages of working with them on refreshing their bylaws. And we will be coming hopefully back to the commission here soon with a plan in regards to elections. And so working with both the resident services and our general counsel's office on how to facilitate that. Our goal is to have that resident advisory board active and seated prior to our strategic planning process. So the goal is to ensure that they're seated at the beginning of the year next year.
Great.
Yes.
Great. And then just one final request to let us know when the breakfast club and the coffee shop are open. I happen to believe that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
And it's all day breakfast.
And I will be an early customer.
Wonderful.
It's also the best meal of it.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Commissioner Simon?
Couple things, if I might. I had occasion to speak with Dave Humpton, who is the CEO of Montgomery Village, the other day. And he reported to me that he had learned that cider mill is no longer considered a hot spot. And I want the staff to take their rightful due in accomplishing that. I think the outreach to the residents and the reporting back to the residents has gone a long way into achieving some calm in the community and a sense of togetherness within the community. And Mr. Humpton went further to say he really appreciated the heightened cooperation with the Montgomery Village staff. We have a lot of units in the village, and there are a lot of nonprofits in the village. And the more that we do and can do to allow people to live fully inclusively in the village, I think is wonderful. Secondly, I had the opportunity, and I can't tell you how much it meant to me, to attend the graduation of the Fatherhood Initiative program. I've attended some of their events. I've seen an increase in the number of the spouses that join the children and their fathers. I have seen when the graduates spoke of what that program has meant to them and what they have accomplished. If we ever wondered why we sit here, that is why we sit here and why we volunteer our time. And the staff, I cannot tell you how appreciative I am of the staff's respectfulness and graciousness and their ability to motivate. One father spoke of being reunited with his family. Another one met a court obligation as part of that program. It changed lives and it was wonderful. And Fred, your staff has done an incredible job with that program. And I encourage my colleagues, when some of these events occur, the staff was very responsive to my saying, I really would like to go and celebrate the graduates. And it was a wonderful experience. And then one last item that I wanted to comment on, and that was with the implementation of the radon bill. I would hope that we are modifying our request of the county government to offset the related costs of that legislation on the properties that we own. And I think that there's certainly precedent for it. And I think it has become an unfunded mandate. And with the issues related to COVID and the effect on our budget, I think this was a tough time to have another item put on the expense side of our operating budget. So I would encourage the staff to do that if you haven't already.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for your kind remarks and acknowledgement of our staff and the program and your encouragement in regards to seeking additional support. So thank you.
A couple of things I'd like to ask or request. One is the fact that people often wonder, why do we call ourselves a Housing Opportunities Commission? And I say to those people, all you have to do is listen to the presentation made today, and you will understand all the opportunities that we are providing to our residents besides housing. And so I want to just compliment, so that's really, and as part of that, I think that I would like to request a copy of the slide that you present to be given to the commissioners so we can have our walking around brag book.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about what the agency is doing and we can flip and show. So I would ask you if you put, and also make sure it's posted on our website because it's very informative and I think it gives a really good idea of what we do in that regard. And the last thing I want to kind of, it wasn't a part of your report, but it came out to me as I listened to the report. And as commissioners, we sit here once a month at least and have a commission meeting. And people who listen to us, they may know our names because I say what they are, but they don't know who we are, okay, by and large, unless they happen to know us in some vein. And so I want to offer up, without having talked to my fellow commissioners, I think we should figure out a way as part of the programs given to our residents, a meet the commissioners type of meeting where we can go out and have the opportunity to engage with and meet our residents through one of our programs. It could be fatherhood, it could be one of the other programs, but for us to be able to go out and be able to do that, I think would be something that I would love to do. And I would encourage my fellow commissioners, if we can set up something like that, that we should try to do that. You know, I was, as many of us probably were last night watching the election results from Georgia. One of the things that struck me about Senator Warnock was he made a comment that, you know, we can have fun tonight on the mountaintop, but tomorrow we've got to go down the valley and do the work. Okay, and I just think that it just struck me, and that's what I've always done is work in the valley. And so I would like to see if we can connect what we do as commissioners to the work that we do and you do in our communities and with our residents. So,
Mr. Chair, perhaps we could work with the Revitalized Resident Council on how we meet with the residents. Have that be a project that we jointly undertake with them as part of their restanding.
Also, once they get the resident advisory board, we can go to the advisory board sometimes every month.
Very good. Okay,
All wonderful suggestions. We have taken note and we'll make sure that we follow up.
Commissioner Nelson.
Just following up a little bit on Roy's comment. I think the comments in Jackie's, the comment Jackie made about the Quadrant Initiative, those are the kinds of comments I remember making for years about family self-sufficiency. And we haven't had a major graduation ceremony for them recently.
Isn't there one coming
Is
up?
there one coming up?
We don't have one yet, but we certainly will. We have a new discussion coordinator who recently joined our team on October 31st, so he's getting out.
Okay.
We will get that in the work.
Because, I mean, her comment just reminded me of the many times that I've attended that. And that's truly a wonderful occasion. And in terms of the chair's comments on your report, I know they get a lot of stuff, but we probably ought to just send the housing, and what is it, housing policy, what's the new committee called now?
Planning, housing and parks.
Planning, housing and parks. We ought to send the committee a copy.
At least the committee,
At least the committee. I mean, it'd be great for me,
council.
council. I mean, that's, to a great extent, they are not really aware of all the things that are doing. And the other piece, and this is not unusual, what they hear are, which is common for members of council, they hear the disgruntled vote, whether it's clients of ours or other citizens of the county, they generally hear the negative stuff. They don't really hear and appreciate what's going on in terms of positive acts. And I would suggest, particularly with 6 new members of the council, that we need to really begin a process of educating them on all kinds of things that we're doing. And they're all talking about housing being a priority. I think one of the things we need to focus on is that it's not just housing. It's all the things that go along with housing, but they're really just talking about affordable housing, and they move on from that. But what HOC does, as Roy has said, is the whole deal. It's not just roof over the head for the residents of HOC. It's the programs we have. It's the things that we do to help them to become more self-sufficient, even participate in the activities of the community. And I think we've got to make sure that our council members appreciate that that's part of this whole thing we call it.
In fact, at the Fatherhood Initiative, I said to them, I hope the fathers shared a celebration of their accomplishment with their children, because they had set an example of undertaking a responsibility and fulfilling it. And it was a role model that they needed to take time to value themselves, but also to help their children understand commitment equals accomplishment. And I spoke on behalf of all of us in congratulating them for their effort and commitment.
Well, I can remember when we had a meet and greet. And when we had that meet and greet, we met a lot of the counselors. They came to us and they introduced themselves to planning council. It was them. There was a lot of counselors too. They came to us because we invited them.
That's important.
So maybe we could do that. Maybe that's something that we could implement at some point.
And since I don't want to leave all the good ideas in this one meeting, I'm going to probably advance the agenda of this conversation and thank the commissioners for the input and conversation today. This has been the most lively input that I've heard in response to a report. So I want to encourage that continuing, but I want to also advance the discussion of the agenda. Before I go on that, I do want to acknowledge and thank you and the staff for decorating the dais. and making it so
Very
Christmas.
festive.
And it looks good.
Wonderful. They
Thank you
did a
very much for
wonderful
that.
job. All right, thank you. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. In advancing the agenda, the next item on the agenda is the Commissioners' Exchange. I will note that, part of starting discussion about that, that as you all know, that on December the 5th was the swearing in of the county executive and our new county council person, expanded county council to 11 now. And for the first time, it's majority women on the county council. It's really amazing to think about the last time the only woman on the county council was Navarro. And we've gone from that now to where they are, in fact, the majority of the new 6 members who've been added, an additional 2 members who've been added. So it's really been interesting term limits. As part of their reorganization, they did in fact create, out of the Fed committee that existed before that Hans Reamer headed up, they created 2 committees. One was, planning, housing, and parks. And the second one was an economic development committee. So they split those into 2 committees. But it just happened that the chair of the housing committee is Andrew Friedson, and the chair of the economic development committee is Natalie Pani Gonzalez. And so both of them are on the housing committee, along with Will Jawando. So I think on the new committees that we'll be dealing with directly, we certainly have 2 experienced county council persons who have certainly been friends of HOC, joined with a new member whose energy exhibited at the swearing in, and she's going to really be a very aggressive and active county council person. I was probably there for all of them, are going to be that way. So it's going to be an interesting couple of years ahead of us, and as we make some new adjustments. And so I'm looking forward to us, and I know the staff will be doing a lot of engaging with the new county council and whatnot, but I certainly want to, as much as possible, for us as commissioners, to also have the opportunity to know who they are and to be able to be available to assist the staff in any way that we can to assure that we are working closely with the new county council and the county executive.
Well, certainly, the new woman on the Fed committee certainly knows us from her work on the planning board. And Andrew Friedson has come to almost every public event, if not every public event we have had, as long as he's been on the council. So we know his commitment to the work of this agency. And I think we're really blessed with people that are committed and prepared to do the job and help us meet some of these housing goals. It's an exciting time.
It is. Are any other items that for Commissioner Exchange? I would exchange, in fact, Christmas and New Year's greetings to all commissioners and staff, because this is our last meeting in December, only meeting in December, and we won't be back together again before the new year of 2023. So certainly, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, fellow commissioners, and to all of our HOC staff on this coming season that we all, one of my favorite seasons of the year is Christmas. And so I want to wish the same to all of you all. Great family time. So with that, we'll move to the next item on the agenda to the approval of minutes. The approval of minutes for November 16th, 2022, and also for the closed session on the same date. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I'm so moved.
We'll probably move the second to approve the minutes for November 8th, 16th, regular and closed session. All in, I got a second, who seconded?
No.
Probably moving seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So ordered, carried unanimously. We will now go into the consent portion of the agenda. The first item is the approval of the appointment of Leslie McDowell, to the Board of Directors of the Housing Opportunities Partners Incorporated. Can I get a motion to approve Resolution 22-80?
I move that we appoint Lexa McDowell to the Board of Directors of the Housing Opportunity Community Partners.
Second.
Been probably moved and seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered, carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the recognition of the retirement of Patrice Birdsong. And as part of this, because of the specialness of this situation, I'd like to ask Mrs. Birdsong if she would come and take a seat right there and be in the center of this conversation.
Rarely does Miss Birdsong get to be in the spotlight. And we
Seem like
appreciate
I'm in
it.
trouble.
I'm in trouble because I can't find what I'm looking for.
Mr. Chair, while you're looking for your document, I'd like to just make a few remarks and indicate that as this commission knows and as our agency knows, all of our staff knows, that Patrice Birdsong has been a wonderful asset to our team. It is bittersweet that she's transitioning to enjoy her retirement. She has made a wonderful impact on us all and has been a great resource for each of you. She's calm, collected, and sophisticated and gets it done and never lets us see her sweat. And so we will miss her greatly. We acknowledge and thank all of the work that she has done for many years for this agency and really have a great honor to present to her in terms of ensuring that the work and her legacy is reflected on the record. And so with that, thank you for your service.
Thanks.
I'd like to present for the record Resolution 22-81. So often we do these resolutions and people don't know what they say. But this is a recognition of retirement for Patrice Birdsong. It's really interesting that Patrice should have the name Birdsong. Anything that one of the things that's so beautiful in the morning for a lot of people is to wake up and hear the sound of a bird, the chirping of a bird, the wonderfulness of nature. And so I want to say, Patrice, that certainly you have been a great song in terms of the way you have presented yourself and carried yourself through certainly my tenure on this commission and to all the rest of us who have worked with you so closely. And for 32 years, I mean, you have labored in this vineyard, okay? And so let me read this resolution 22-81. Whereas the Housing Opportunity Commission of Montgomery County, HOC or Commission, wishes to express its sincere gratitude and thanks to Patrice Birdsong, Miss Birdsong, for her 32 years of service to the agency and to the community. Whereas Ms. Birdsong began a career with HOC on July 30th, 1990 in the role of Administrative Assistant 3. And whereas over the years, Ms. Birdsong filled many roles at the agency, including Program Assistant, Administrative Assistant to the Chief of Staff, Administrative Assistant to the Labor Relations Manager, and finally, ending as a Special Assistant to the Commissioner. And whereas in the role as Special Assistant to the Commission, Ms. Birdsong played a pivotal role in facilitating Commission communications and meetings, including collaborating with the Executive Director and staff in agenda formulation, preparing committee and commission brief books, maintaining the minutes, resolutions, and historical records of the Commission, and assisting in ensuring the Commission complied with various legal requirements. And whereas Ms. Birdsong consistently positive attitude, immeasurable kindness, and assiduous execution of her job responsibilities earned her numerous awards, certificates of appreciation, and recognitions throughout the agency, and made her invaluable to the Commission and the HOC staff. Now therefore be it resolved, the Housing Opportunity Commission of Montgomery County extends its wholehearted appreciation to Ms. Birdsong for her innumerable contributions to the agency and wishes her peace, happiness, and joy in her retirement. I hereby certify that the foregoing resolution was adopted by the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County in an open meeting conducted on December the 7th, 2022. Congratulations.
Just want to say thank you to everyone. It's been a pleasure working with HOC. I remember when I first started, I said, I'm only going to stay here 5 years. And I'm just going to learn and then move on to the next chapter in my life. But it's because of the residents and the staff here that I've continued on, and I've enjoyed working with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner.
I've had the opportunity to work with Patrice since the year after she came to HOC. And I can attest to the fact that she's one of those that just keeps the train running. And she has been tremendously helpful to all of us in the various roles. And I also gotta say, despite all that happens at HOC, I don't think I've ever heard her really get ticked off at anything. I really, and that's amazing. Considering all the difficult issues that we deal with, but really, Patrice, you have been a help to the commission, to the staff, and to the commissioners. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Lift you up.
Thank you so much.
I'll follow up on that. I've often thought, you know, if Patrice could answer every phone call that came into this organization, we would have no problem. Because she would calm everyone down. She knows exactly who to get in touch with. She knows where the documents are. She knows how it works. And that would have meant stretching her very thin, but it would have been the best thing that could ever happen because of the confidence and the just joy of dealing with you. So thank you so much.
I think I'm the baby of this group because I needed her so much. She's done, my God, I don't know how I could have made it on the commission without you. She's did papers for me. She's assisted me in that. She's just always reminded me of things that I had to do because I didn't remember. You know, she came to my birthday party. I have so much respect for that woman right there. She has went through a lot at this job, but she never broke, not one time. I will never, ever forget Patrice Birdsong.
Thank you.
Well,
Mrs. Thomas.
I would like to say that I've never had anyone who greeted me with, good morning, Commissioner. I can't say it as you do, but it just like makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And it sets a tone for the agency, and your grace in dealing with people and the way you respect people have done immeasurable good for this agency and the people we serve. And I thank you for the opportunity to work.
Thank you so much.
And I'd like to just echo all that. I think, being the newest commissioner on the board, starting during the pandemic, I think Patrice was the only one to witness my swearing in. And for most of the first year, I think Patrice was actually the only person I had met from HOC in person. But she always, made me feel like I was at home, and made sure I was prepared and made sure, that just easing that transition under a very difficult circumstance. And it was always very much appreciated, always so responsive, and always with a smile.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Byrd, I don't want to leave you out.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I'm so emotional. Patrice has definitely helped me over the years since 2016. So thank you so much, Patrice. You are a class act woman. I appreciate you keeping me on task, calling me, making sure I've done my tasks, as Linda said. So it has not been easy for me working full time. So I hope you know how much I love you, respect you. I wish this was a resolution that we could vote on because it would not pass. So thank you so much, Patrice, and best wishes in your new adventure.
Thank you, Commissioner Byrd. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now entertain a motion to approve resolution 22-81.
So moved.
I second.
Probably moved and seconded by everybody.
Yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried unanimously. Thank you so much, Patrice. And don't be like me, retire and come back.
That would be nice.
We'll now move on to our committee reports and recommendations for action. The first one is our Development Finance Committee chaired by Commissioner Simon.
We have two items this afternoon on our agenda related to development and finance. The first item is the redevelopment aggregation and description of a provision of development services and a pre-development loan to Emery Grove and the community. And if you would be kind enough to introduce the staff and the discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This matter comes before the commission seeking support to move forward with the next milestone in supporting the Heritage Emery Grove Development Project. There are two action items related to this particular ask. One is support for advancing our development consulting support services for the church. And the other is to provide a pre-development loan to the church. I will turn it over to our real estate division led by Zachary Marks, as well as Marcus Irvin to provide more details.
Next slide, please. And for the record, Mark Irvin, the Director of Development, to the seat, from here by Chief Real Estate Officer, Zach Marks. Events on the slide. Well, that's advancing. Here this evening to present two items for the Heritage Emery Grove development. For historical context, the community itself was originally founded by emancipated slaves. As we look here at the site map, it really tells the story of why we're here today. The action this evening actually is part of reconciliation. Heritage Emery Grove was part of urban renewal, where many portions of the property lost a lot of the pillars that the church is seeking to restore through this action and revival, some of which included arts and culture, urban farming, agriculture, recreation and parks, affordable homeownership. So a lot of what what's already been shared here and working with the church and our assets is a reconciliation part that advances that. Part of the development services agreement allows HOC to provide the professional advice, a lot of which we do day to day for the church to help advance those efforts as part of their larger master plan that's shown, which includes the park, some additional cultural elements, their own parcels, then senior housing, future senior housing component as well. The second part of it, which advances the pre-development loan, is what will allow them to pay for those professional services, once again, to advance those pre-development efforts. We look back at history for centuries. We've heard stories during the Juneteenth event and with the pastor from other community events. A lot of the elders still exist, and this also provides the opportunity for repatriation for some of those residents. So the housing components shown here would provide some of those affordable housing opportunities and both rental and for sale that were lost through the effort. With that said, I'll kind of look over to Zach or Chelsea to present any other final points that may not have already been described in the subsequent slides. Or take questions.
Yeah, and this might be a good place just really quickly to pause on the context slide just to make sure that whether there are any questions around the larger Heritage Emery Grove concept and also specifically the church assemblage, which is the subject of today's request.
Could you identify, so people who are looking at where the Negro League ball field was? on the site. Can you describe it as which parcel this is?
Yeah, actually, it's so on this particular, it's actually just off the top of this slide. The next slide, I think, has a, I'm not, or maybe the next slide. I'm not sure which. Yeah, so it's actually flipping back 2 slides. It's just to the north of that of the forest. The forested area is are part of the former worship grounds where it was the grove that effectively where the Methodist worship occurred on an annual basis. And then north of there is Johnson's Local Park, which was originally owned by Mr. Johnson, who started the baseball field.
And the school is farther north.
Correct. Just to the north of Johnson's Park is the school.
And Councilmember Katz remarked during the session that he was educated at the school there in Emery Grove. So there's a lot of history of people who today remember it. I know you and I remember the club store and Ray Tyler and a number of the community leaders, and HOC has had involvement there in the community for a long time, and I'm delighted to see that we're having the opportunity to undo some of the unintended consequences that occurred during urban renewal. So I think this is a wonderful partnership, and I'm glad we're able to facilitate the church's efforts to rebuild from the inside of the community rather than from the outside.
Go ahead.
I think what I'd like to offer is that the presentation and the resolution provide the key components. Ultimately, per the recommendation of the commission and also staff, we will ask the church to ensure that there will be a certain element of affordability, 30% affordability on the parcel that they will develop. And we have created this agreement similar to other consulting agreements with the same terms that would be in a typical consulting services agreement. And so I can ask staff to kind of advance to the slide that identifies what the issues are for consideration and open for any questions.
That'll be fine. Yeah.
And so this is the slide that highlights the issues for consideration, and I'll turn it back over to real estate team to just highlight those points and ask if there are any questions of the commission.
Yes, so issues for consideration, the commission accept staff's recommendation, which is supported by the Development Finance Committee for authorization of the executive director to negotiate and enter into a development advisory service agreement with HOC and Emery Grove United Methodist Church for its designated community development corporation on terms as outlined herein. And secondly, approval of a pre-development budget and loan to the project sponsor, once again, be Emery Grove United Methodist Church for its designated community development corporation, and not to exceed 1.65 million on terms outlined.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the resolution 2283 on behalf of the committee.
I'll second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve resolution 22-83. Are there any questions? One question, Commissioner Nelson.
Not a question, but a point that I don't think it's been made sufficiently is that this is in fact a project that is now got the cooperation of the county executive and all of the partners who are involved in trying to redress some of the wrongs. And when we talk about redressing some of the wrongs, the original urban renewal plan had great vision for this area and for the people who are being displaced. Unfortunately, those people who were displaced. And they're not there today. And this is going to attempt to redress that. And having been involved in this project since I was back in the sixties. I'm glad to see that it's come to this, but I'm also glad to see we have as many partners as we have to ensure that there is a remembrance of what was there, and that we're trying to, in fact, preserve that heritage. And I'm hopeful that this will continue, and we'll be able to educate the community as to what it is we're doing and why. It's very important in terms of the people who were there, who had high hopes. Some of them obviously are not here anymore. I'm very supportive of the overall effort. And as I say, the county is participating. They've got some county land that's going to be contributed. This is not just the piece that we're talking about today in terms of the church's land, but it's larger redevelopments. I think it's really positive step for all.
Thank you. I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered.
Thank you, commissioners.
Next item.
The next item on the agenda from the committee is the VPC 1 and VPC 2 authorization to reissue tax exempt indebtedness of up to $48 million for our scattered site portfolio. And Ms. Andrews, if you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This matter comes before the commission seeking support to extend our loan terms, modify them slightly with PNC Bank to continue to provide financing for our scattered sites, VPC 1 and 2. I will turn it over to our mortgage finance team led by Acting Director Jennifer Hines Washington and supported by Jeremiah Battle, Senior Multifamily Underwriter.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jennifer Washington, Acting Director of Mortgage Finance, and Jeremiah will be presenting this item this evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Jeremiah Battle, Senior Multifamily Underwriter in Mortgage Finance, and we are requesting Commission authorization to reissue tax exempt indebtedness for VPC 1 and VPC 2 in an amount not to exceed $48 million in actions due to the requested amendment. Page 55, please. Page 56, please. Oh, that's okay. Thank you. VPC 1 Corporation and VPC 2 Corporation are wholly controlled corporate instrumentalities of HOC that own 679 scattered site properties throughout Montgomery County. The VPC scattered sites provide significant public purpose in that 99% of the units are reserved for families and individuals earning between 30% and 80% of the area median income. On December 15th, 2017, in order to qualify for a tax exempt structure for a new PNC Bank loan, HOC approved acting as conduit issuer of a $52 million lendable proceeds to the VPCs. The PNC facility, which is a 5-year facility at a tax exempt interest rate of 3.297% with an amortization of 30 years, matures on December 21st, 2022. At the Development and Finance Committee meeting on November 18th, 2022, staff presented and received support for an amended refinance plan, which would extend the PNC facility by 8 months to sync with the maturity of a PNC loan for the Scattered Sites 2 portfolio, which matures in August of 2023. The strategy was constructed in order to allow for the potential of a refinance of both the VPCs as well as the Scattered Sites 2 portfolio in a single transaction, and to allow time for staff to develop an overarching refinance, redevelopment, and or disposition plan relative to all of HOC's Scattered Sites properties. Page 56, please. Staff had also evaluated the potential of a 24-month extension of the existing PNC facility. However, favorable terms in PNC and HOC unfortunately could not be met. The amended terms of the 8-month extension include interest-only payments at the projected tax exempt interest rate of 4.241%. And based upon a net operating income of almost $5 million, the debt service coverage ratio will be approximately 2.47. Slide 6, please.
One more page. Thank you.
Scenario Scenario one creates the savings in debt service by approximately $517,000 and an increase in cash flow by $425,000, along with an improvement in debt service coverage ratio by 47 basis points. Staff recommends the extension shown in scenario one and recommends to restrict the projected additional cash flow for the needs of any additional renovation of units until the refinance of the transaction is completed. Slide 7, please. And interest rate sensitivity analysis was performed as shown on slide 7 to show the impacts on rising interest rates, debt service and debt service coverage ratio. The property would need to maintain a 1.40 debt service coverage ratio in order to avoid a negative impact to HOC's general obligation capacity. Slide 8, please. There's no negative impact expected on the Commission's FY 2023 budget, and the estimated costs of the extension are estimated not to exceed $100,000, which staff recommends to be paid from available property cash. Slide 9, please. Therefore, based upon staff's findings and the support of the Development and Finance Committee, staff recommends approval of the actions as noted to authorize the reissuance of tax-exempt indebtedness not to exceed $48 million and authorize the use of cash held in the OH bond fund to pay the financing cost of the extension. And with that, I'll open for any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. PNC didn't want to do the 24-month, they rejected that for the 8 months, right? That's the eight months that we're having here, that I see here.
It's not that PNC didn't want to do it. The terms that were presented weren't deemed to be favorable for HOC.
Why didn't they? Why didn't they want to do it?
It was
Why
that
didn't they?
it wasn't that it wasn't that PNC Bank did not want to do it. It's the fact that what they offered to us in terms of financing terms were not acceptable to HOC. And so we put this back to renegotiating terms, but right now we have a proposal that's put forth to us that we think is one we want to recommend while we still continue to have conversations with PNC Bank.
Right, so we still be conversation. We still have conversations with them about this. Okay.
The committee had reviewed these options and given the response that we've received, we would recommend resolution
2284.
Yes. That we use the 8 months to look at the other alternatives that would be available to us and determine whether we how we want to proceed in the future. I know this is the hardest of all of our holdings to manage, and it's very difficult to do it, and this may be a time, though I reluctantly would be convinced, could be convinced to dispose of some of it or all of it, depending on what the next 8 months show us as far as a wise way to proceed. I must say, if we were confronted with that, a challenge we're going to have is replacing those units. And the county executive has made it very clear that every unit that we lose is to be replaced. So that would be a real challenge. And I certainly would feel that any of the units in those 2 programs that were wheelchair accessible, we find some way to retain those in our portfolio. Simply because there are so few units, and I know we have modified several units in that program. And I would hate to see us lose those because they'll be even harder on a scattered site basis, which was the whole premise of this program, is that our units allowed people to be rehoused in the parts of the county that they chose to be rehoused in and dispersed across the county. And so it's a program that had excellent reason to be. And but times have certainly changed, and we have to recognize it, I guess. So I would move the resolution on behalf of the committee's recommendation that the 8 months be used to explore permanent solution to the challenges we face with these units.
Probably move in second.
I'll second.
And probably move in second to approve resolution 22-84. I'm sorry, is that, yes, 84. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered, carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item of the meeting is to, thank you very much for the presentation, is the Administrative and Regulatory Committee chaired by Commissioner Kelleher.
Thank you, Chair. The Administrative and Regulatory Committee met a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed the new HUD recommendations for the 2023 small area fair market rents. This is where we go through zip code by zip code every year and need to figure out what is the fair market rent for the specific zip code based on HUD's data and also what we have. And Mr. Nelson, I recall last time you were asking, is there any way we could go above 110% because of the difficulties that people are having with lack of supply and then also the price increases. Apparently, quite a few organizations across the country have had similar problems to us, and HUD has proposed an opportunity to apply for a waiver to go beyond 110%. So the committee received information from staff about that, and they have a recommendation for us related to applying for such a waiver, and based on their analysis, going to 112% to optimize the number of actual vouchers out on the street and the amount of money that is available for those vouchers. So with that, I will turn over the details to the staff who can walk us through the excellent analysis they did on how to optimize the balance between the number of vouchers and how much they're worth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And our presentation will be moved forward with our Director of Housing Resource Division, Lynn Hayes, as well as Giddy Paul, the Assistant Director of Housing Resource Division.
Good afternoon. First, I'm Lynn Hayes, Director of the Housing Resources Division. Giddy Paul is going to present this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Giddy Paul, for the record. I'm the Assistant Director of the Housing Resources Division. Annually, the Department of Housing and Urban Development publishes the fair market rents for our voucher payment standards for our Housing Choice Voucher Program. Voucher payment standards represent the maximum amount of subsidy that HOC can pay a landlord on behalf of a voucher customer. Traditionally, we've been able to have our payment standards range from 90% to 110% of the published FMRs. This year, HUD published Notice 2022-30 that on September 26, 2022, allowing housing authorities to establish payment standards up to 120% of the published fair market rents. HOC is required to establish our payment standards every year for every zip code in Montgomery County pursuant to the small area FMR guidelines. HUD recognizes the ongoing fluctuation in the rental market and is allowing housing authorities more flexibility in establishing our voucher payment standards. Overall, this year, our FMRs increased in 62 zip codes. All bedroom sizes experienced increases, with efficiencies experiencing the most positive impact and increases with 62 zip codes. Those dollar increases ranged from 10 to 130%. 10 to $130. 2% of our families live in efficiencies. 2 bedrooms also experienced notable increases, with 61 zip codes experiencing increases from a dollar range of $10 to $160. Majority of our families currently live in 1 bedroom sizes at 34.3%, followed by 2 bedrooms at 34.1%. 14 zip codes experienced decreases this year compared to last year, where 62 zip codes experienced decreases. The 4 bedroom size was the most negatively impacted with our decreases this year. After assessing several percentiles from 90 to 120%, we're proposing the implementation of the voucher payment standards at 112% of the fair market rate this year across all bedroom size. HUD must approve any payment standard in excess of 110% of the published fair market rent. HOC must demonstrate good cause for the recommended rates. Subject to HUD approval, good cause includes utilization rate lower than 98% or more than 5% reduction in utilization occurring between 2019 and 2021. HOC can demonstrate good cause. If adopted, our reserve balance will reduce to $4.7 million, leaving no funds at risk of being recaptured by HUD. Industry standards recommend maintaining a reserve balance of 4 to 6% of our annual budget authority. 4.7% is 4% of our annual budget authority. Any voucher payment standard exceeding 112% will reduce our reserve balance to less than 4% of our annual budget authority. Any voucher payment standard less than 112% will result in a risk of recapture. We've reviewed this recommendation with our acting chief financial officer, who's in agreement with these recommendations. Next year, we anticipate being re-benchmarked and receiving additional funds by HUD. Today, staff is requesting that the commission support staff's recommendation to request HUD approval of FY 2023 voucher payment standards be equal to 112% of the published small area fair market rents for all zip codes and bedroom sizes. This implementation will allow us to prevent the risk of rent burden for approximately 90% of our families. It will allow families greater access and opportunity in areas in which they can rent their homes. It will allow us to maintain our reserve balance of 4 to 6% and allow us to increase our utilization. We will take any questions you have at this time.
If I could just point the commissioners to the table on page 79, which summarizes all of the data analysis that Katie kindly went through there, and shows how it is the optimal amount at 112% to leave nothing on the table for HUD to recapture and still give us 4% of a reserve. And with that,
let me ask you a question. You said this leaves the rent burden 90% of our clients.
Yes, it has a potential.
And what about the other two? And are they in a specific bedroom size or just across the board? Who are they?
Okay, they're across the board, yes. The families that would be rent burden, even if we took it to 120%, we would not be able to relieve them at this time.
But it's making the assumption that they remain in their current units. And so if they move, then the rent burden may potentially be reduced, but it's making an assumption that they remain where they are.
Thank you, Chair Keller, for remembering my comments a year ago.
No problem. If there are no other questions or comments, and Pamela, I don't know if you have any. I don't want to ignore you on the.
Oh, no, I would have asked. I'm good. Thank you.
Yes. Then I would like to move that we authorize staff to implement voucher payment standards based on HUD's fiscal year 2023 3 small area fair market rents with a request to HUD that we exceed 110% to be able to go to 112.
I second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries to approve resolution 22-82 unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, staff. With no other business before the commission at time in regular business, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
And probably moving second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered. We will now go into the Development Corporation meetings. I call the meeting to order for the purpose of the going into the Development Corporation meetings. The first one is for VPC 1 Development Corporation, and this will approve accept the amended refinancing plan for VPC 1. Resolution 22-002 VPC 1. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
All second.
probably moving second to approve the refinancing plan, the amended refinancing plan for BPC 1. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. So ordered. I now adjourn the meeting of the VPC 1 Development Corporation. We will now have the Development Corporation meeting for VPC 2 Development Corporation. That's a tongue tiger there. Again, it's a refinancing, approve and accept the amended refinancing plan for VPC 2 Development Corporation. Can I get a motion to accept resolution 22-002 VPC 2?
I would approve, but I would also suggest that for the record, we should indicate that the materials supporting each of these resolutions has been considered by the members of the VPC board just recently as they acted upon it. HOC meeting. That's the reason why it's not been discussed as thoroughly in this session. I don't want to leave the impression that we haven't considered the details of the proposals. So with that understanding, I would move approval of resolution 22-002 VPC 2.
Second, and I also want to comment from Attorney.
He covered it. I also, for the record, would like you to state the resolution number that you approved for VPC 1. So that was 22-002 VPC 1, the prior meeting.
Yes. Okay, this is for the approval of resolution 22-002 VPC 2. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a second?
Yeah. Who was second?
I'll
I'll
second.
go back. It's been, motion was made by
Rick.
Rick Nelson.
I think I seconded.
It was seconded by Commissioner Kelleher and Commissioner Workowitz. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered. The motion carries unanimously. Being there's no other meeting to come before this body, I declare that the meeting of the Development Corporation adjourned, and this meeting is over.
Thank you, commissioners, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Enjoy the band concert. What was the last?